Ladies and gentlemen, recently I was very privileged to have a long conversation with the former executive director of one of the largest and most successful free zones in the country. I can't actually say which free zone this was, but if I say that 8 years in a row it's won the Financial Times FDI prize for being the #1 free zone in the world, I'm sure you'll get an idea of who this was. And the former executive director said to me that she felt her greatest achievement at the free zone was reducing the time that it took to get a trade license from 2 weeks to 6 hours. So I said, well, how on earth did you make that reduction? And she said, it's a process of digital transformation. So I said, well, obviously this was very beneficial change for your stakeholders. And she said, Paul, you misunderstand, Paul. This is not about the time necessarily that it saves in terms of bureaucracy. This is because digital transformation is intrinsic to the quality with which our client base can work. You cannot differentiate between the digital process and the actual nature and content of the generic work itself. And I thought this was an extremely important point that she made. Our next speaker, Christina Nicolescu, is an expert on the use of innovation in digital tech to further advance the quest for sustainable practices and working methods. It's a great pleasure to welcome her to the stage. Christina, thank you for coming here today. Thank you very much indeed.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so honored to be here with all of you today. I can feel in the air a lot of optimism, positive energy. Let's hope we can sustain it throughout the whole summit. At the end of the day, it's about energy and sustainability. I'm an engineer. My specialty is power generation, transport, and distribution. And my biggest dream when I graduated over 20 years ago was to work in the World Bank. Because at that moment in time, very few people were actually backing up projects, investing in clean technologies. People would smile when you talk about global warming. At the end, as life went by, I didn't end up working in the World Bank. After several jobs, I ended up working in a worldwide technology provider which delivers digital solutions and enables energy players and helps the energy industry. So finally, I'm lucky enough to have fulfilled my dream. I would like to start today with a short remark. One click, we come back home, we turn on the light. We wake up in the morning, we turn on the light. We open the fridge, we get refreshed with cold water. Well, we are surrounded by air conditioning. There's just one click. We become so dependent on this. This is a life standard. 10 years ago, we were 7 billion, and by 2050, we expect to be 10 billion. If we want to preserve the one click for everybody, ladies and gentlemen, we need 4 times more electricity. We need 3 times more infrastructure to transport and distribute it. So the question is, how we cope this growing demand of energy, knowing that energy is 80% of global emission. So how do we balance that? Because we are in a race towards net zero. We want to lower these emissions. I have a very bad news. If we look at the screen, in 2021, despite all consciousness, despite all efforts, global CO2 emissions saw a record rise. And we're coming after COVID. So it was really a bad news. Then they started to decline. They started to see again a plateau and a little bit decline. And that was because of the renewables. I'm going to get to that point in a second. So if we want to know how we want to approach the future, the first question is, are we there? Are we doing the right things? And it's not me who says that. It is definitely a no. If we keep the projection that we have today, if we keep the same rhythm, we will not be getting there. But there is a hope. There is a glimpse of hope. And this is a historic milestone. Last year, for the very first time in history, investment in wind and solar exceeded the investment in current and new oil and gas facilities. That's really historic. And this gives us a simple conclusion. If we keep doing that, if we keep scaling up, accelerating this entry of clean energy, of renewables, while we are still scaling back the fossil fuel, we'll get there. Because we cannot renounce this lifestyle that we have. Fossil fuel are needed. We cannot simply cut them off. This has a price tag, and this is a price tag that McKinsey, after a lot of and deep study, came up with $275 trillion. I mean, this is, I can't see it. I'm an engineer, but I can't understand how many zeros there are. But I do understand the proportion. So it says that for each dollar that we spend on fossil, we need to spend $9 on clean. That's a proportion I understand. So this is the rhythm of acceleration. And I would like to stop on the Middle East as a region, because we are so lucky here. We have seen a tremendous effort, and Anita mentioned that earlier. We have to feel proud looking back, what we've done, what we've achieved so far. So many aspirational targets, pledges, which really are aspirational, they're motivating. We've seen, and we all see it every day, here we have an abundant solar. It's the gold, it's a radiation that just comes. We have to be able to build on that. In addition, Middle East, if you look at the geographical location, has a tremendous opportunity to be the bridge between West and East. It can become a producer of clean energy. It can actually have a first mover advantage in hydrogen projects, for example. And if we think of low-cost renewables, we can actually build green products. So that's an opportunity that Middle East should not miss. And to be honest, it was mentioned earlier, the COP27 and this year COP28 is actually showing the world all the efforts. It's attracting the attention. It's making it more visible. It's showing the world what has been achieved in this region. But ladies and gentlemen, with all this effort, looking at this chart, we see that it's still not enough. We need to run faster and faster. And if we look only at this abundant resource, solar, we need to move 7 times faster. And how can we do that? Because we saw the numbers. You have to invest a lot of money. What companies are doing, and I'm talking about the full energy industry players or related to energy. I'm going to focus only on one section, that's digitization. That's a digitalization that was mentioned as an enabler for giving us the chance to be faster, more efficient. And 60% of companies are putting the money, when they invest, they said this portion is for digitization of the business. Please raise your hand if any of you has never heard of these words. Virtual design, building information modeling, digital twin, metaverse, big data, we all named them. Some of these technologies are emerging, but some they're already with us. Jesus from Acciona mentioned earlier a few projects. They are using virtual design. They are using building information modeling. They are using that digitalization because it's in their DNA, it's in their nature. We have to move and we have to focus on these technologies. But do you know what they have in common, all this? They are using data. They are consuming huge volumes of data. And data has become I would say, the golden rule in any company that wants to advance. And almost 3/4 of companies are recognizing that using technology is actually allowing them to transform the business. And I would like to stop again on the Middle East leadership here. And almost 60% of companies are recognizing that using these technologies are actually enabling their energy transition. I brought a few examples with me, and intentionally they're of different nature. Hatta, a beautiful hydropower, beautiful. I'm in love with energy in general, but it's beautiful. It's a beautiful location and beautiful purpose to stabilize the grid and make room for renewables. Hasian, that's a enormous facility for gas-fired power plant. Al Maktoum Solar Park, I think it needs no introduction. And last but definitely not least, Abuela, which has just won the desalination power of the year. All these projects, I sat with the teams, I worked with them, and I was at all locations except for Hatta. They are brainstorming every day how to improve the business, how to improve the processes internally, how to make use of the data, so how they can monetize on the investment. And it's not only about money, it's about the time. It's about changing a culture, the change management. It's really a very strong and difficult task. So they are doing all this. And the reason they succeeded is because they were structured, they were organized, they understood that data is important, that digitalizing is not just having digital files, but it's becoming, really, if you look at all the tiny pieces, how we name information, the ontology. We were talking earlier about taxonomy of projects. We have the same thing in data. It's about ontology, it's about open format, it's about the possibility to connect, to link the points. We have assets which are designed, they are built, they are handed over, and then operated and maintained. They are data today. We are talking today about the digital asset. And even if we are not talking about digital twin, what we are looking at, and also the environment that we are looking around, the built environment, is becoming digital. Big data is everywhere. That's what we have around us, and that's the future. I would like to simplify for the audience and explain why the projects I showed earlier benefited and how the digital transformation and the digital technologies per se, the data that stays behind, can actually help. First of all, I think the example was very clear. Shorten time cycles. You streamline any process. You foster collaboration. Everybody speaks the same language. You manage to reduce the time to deployment of anything that you are doing. That means you minimize risk. In particular now with the high volatility of the markets, the sooner you complete a project, the better. You are able to do that across any phase of your assets. At the end, when the asset is built, you already have it. There is no handover, there is no finding the information, there is nothing missing. It's just more people getting around that digital asset that has been built. And that's where the beauty comes. That's the art of data. It brings us together. It makes us more efficient. We save time, we save money, but we save energy above all. It allows us to decarbonize with simple steps. Simple steps, and somebody said it earlier, small changes. You don't have to transform the world, small changes. And I would like to, again, quote Anita Nuri. She said, some people would close an eye. And that's normal. I mean, if I tell you today that all the way you work has to change because it has to be digital, first of all, you wonder, what's digital? What am I supposed to do? I'm going to resist myself. But small, tiny actions that we all do, it's in us. We have to do it. And I also heard the panelists saying that 10% of this transformation resides in the behavior, in our behavior. So please, please, digitize, transform the way we work, adapt to the new future of this planet. And last but not least, you can take it as with ownership, with accountability. Lead this, because we can all do things. You know what they say, the next phase of humanity really depends on choices that we, all of us, make here today. Because we want to allow the future generation, I have 2 kids, and I want to leave them a good planet. So they have at least this benefit of clicking one button and getting all the luxury that we have today. Thank you very much.
So, Christina, if I can just kick off the questions here by saying, do you feel that part of the art of digital transformation is for an organization to actually realize the data it already holds Because so often I feel that organizations are asking their stakeholders to give back to them documents that they themselves gave them, which consumes so much time and energy. Surely having that audit of what you actually possess is a great place to start.
Definitely, and actually the first step is to acknowledge the importance of the data and what data is.
Absolutely.
Data and structured data, standardized data, and everything starts with collaboration. We have to name things correctly. We have to allow the life cycle. So it's not about having information in files. No, it's about having everything at every step in digital format. And structured data has a huge power. Actually, data and the way that we can explore that at scale would allow us actually to produce that mirrored world, so everything that's physical today will have a digital replica. But it starts within, it starts within the companies to acknowledge that it has value and they have to invest in it. And it's not about files. It goes well beyond that, yes.
Indeed. Any questions, please, for Christina? Gentleman just here. Hello.
Yeah, thank you very much, Christina, for a wonderful presentation. My name is Jesus Sancho from Acciona. I have heard that those companies that did not embrace digital transformation will not survive in the long term. So what, in your opinion, are the challenges or the problems that don't allow some companies to actually embrace that? Is it, for example, lack of understanding of the benefit they can get? Is it fear of all this becoming digital, the data security, cybersecurity? Is it the cost and the understand? What would you think is the main projects for companies not to embrace?
That's a great question, Jesus. Great question.
Thank you.
Yeah. What do
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Actually, this is our daily challenge. First of all, companies will not survive if they don't get ready for the future. They will suffer quite a lot because efficiency is a key driver. We need to do more with less. I think that's obvious. And we have to work smarter and not harder. But probably the first challenge that I can feel every day is the resistance to change. It is the value that is not well understood, and that makes everything, it's like a cascade. So that's a cost. I can actually, I have to do some cost cutting. This is something we don't need. We always have time. And all of this actually builds up to a big, big misunderstanding. And the data is much more than just sending an email or a file. And cybersecurity has been treated, and it's a real threat, to be honest. Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Hi, Christine.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you for the inspiring presentation. My name is Mohammed Al-Husseini. I'm the Managing Director for the Sea Energy. My question mainly about how do you see the regulatory pushing for the digitalization in the future? As you said, if we implement it from now with the small steps, it will be a great achievement for future. But how to motivate more and more going into the digitalization? For example, the digital twin of the building is just a cornerstone of getting into the net zero and the energy efficiency for the buildings. How do you see that in the future?
Thank you for the question. I think this touches upon the major responsibility that public institutions have. They should play a catalyst role, and sometimes the only way to make this grow exponentially is to have a compelling event where this becomes mandatory. And there are many governments across the world which are trying to do that. So when they decide to invest in a new facility, they define a set of requirements, and using digital transformation as a foundation to use building information modeling, virtual design, and digital twin is the first step. So they could be really a catalyst. And I saw somebody's, I think it was Anton, a name earlier. I liked very much the title. He was a cybersecurity evangelist. We should all be digital transformation, decarbonization evangelists. All of us could do that. And this, if it's really pushed and supported from the public institutions, it has much more chances to succeed. Thank you.
And one last question. Anita, please.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you. Thanks
Thank you.
for mentioning me in your very excellent discussion. I just wanted to say it's a little bit human nature. We're scared of change, and we have to not be scared of that change. And we also tend to procrastinate. And if there's lack of understanding and we're scared, we procrastinate. We don't want to make that change happen. But it's all small, small steps, like you said, one step at a time, one small change at a time, and opening the doors and asking the questions so that we can understand. So everybody here has to be able to ask these questions so that we can answer them, and then together we can step forward together and stop looking backwards, because we do need a paradigm change to make us reach those lofty goals. Carbon reductions can't happen without us making these big changes. And it's not huge. Every small thing makes a difference. That's really an important message that I'd like to give.
I can't agree more. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Jagannathan from Shobha Realty. Thanks, Christina, for the good presentation, and it was quite informative. I feel, as you rightly mentioned, data is the future and we have to be ready for the change. What I feel as a barrier here is that we are not that slow in embracing technology, but in the process of embracing a new technology, we tend to lose track of the purpose. For instance, we talked of big data, analytics, digital twins, building information modeling, and things like that, that are supposed to enable or bring in efficiency into the whole process, right? If you take BIM, the scope is enormous. But to what extent are the companies who are adopting BIM really using the power behind BIM? So the power of using the advantages of digital technologies is lacking. So it's more of a pride in saying I have a digital twin, I have a BIM model, but whether I'm deriving benefits. So to that extent, I think digital technology players have a role of not having an approach that we know, you just take it, we just try to integrate with the people to bring them the real benefits of how to use those digital technologies. No, I'm just saying from the point of view of built environment or various other applications where it becomes more of a name than a real benefit. That's something probably more of a collaboration or more of a training or capacity building to help the end users or the benefits would be quite helpful. Thanks.
Thank you. I would like to comment on the BIM concept. So for whoever in the room who doesn't know what BIM is designing before you build. So you have the digital model totally with everything inside, materials, cost, everything. You can see it. The fact that you can see it in 3D is just a visualization, but actually you have the project that you are supposed to execute. And it's true that many companies claim they have been embraced BIM, but they are simply doing part of that. But that's normal and that's natural. And everybody will start again with a small change that they can control because there is a natural fear. And what if this project doesn't go well? That's why we need the public institutions to make this in a regulatory frame and as an incentivized process. So people leave away the fear. But that's obvious. They can start little by little. The scope is too broad. You can't do that from the very beginning. You have to start somewhere. That's a journey. That's a data journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you
Christina.
very much.
Please, huge round of applause for Christina Nicolescu. Thank you.